Top 10 Extraordinary Titanic Facts.
Wherever you are, I believe.
Here we are at Fox Studios, home of the infamous Titanic the Ride. Number 10 of our Top 10 Extraordinary Titanic Facts. Rather self-explanatory.
The Titanic Experience leads you through the terrifying last moments of the mighty ship's deadly descent into the North Atlantic Ocean. We're taken on a journey that sets out to be as authentic as possible.
Keep moving forward! Quickly!
A ghostly reminder of those that lost their lives on this ship of dreams.
Number 9. The Titanian. In 1935, while crossing the Atlantic Ocean, the Titanian, an undistinguished coal boat, sank, virtually near the same spot as her near namesake, the Titanic, after striking an iceberg. Coincidence or incompetence? Both. Number 8. Charles Joughin. This extraordinary man was the Titanic's baker. After the iceberg struck, he would grab babies and throw them into the lifeboats, knowing it was the only way the screaming mothers would leave their doomed husbands and luggage and survive. He was ordered into a lifeboat because of his sailing ability, but refused. He held fast to the women and children only rule, and he would keep rescuing people and go down with the ship, or so he thought. The ship's doctor gave him the advice, when it gets to the end, drink heavily, drink yourself unconscious. It'll be a much better death than freezing drowning. But the ship broke apart right in front of him, and being as drunk as he was, Charles managed to keep his balance and walked along the side of the ship and stepped off the very last part of the Titanic before she went under. He eventually climbed aboard a lifeboat, but his crazy survivor story doesn't stop there. When aboard the rescue ship Carpathia, he decided to warm himself up by going to the kitchen and climbed into the oven. Warming the extremities of your body first and having all warm blood go to your heart is the last thing you should do. That should have killed him then and there. But so should a lot of things that day. He lived until 1956. Number 7. Mr. Plinkett. A lesser-known Titanic survivor is everyone's favourite human being and cat lover, literally, Red Letter Media's Mr. Plinkett.
Maybe I'm a little biased towards Titanic, because I was actually on the ship.
Number 6. The Melkis Family. In 1965, the Melkis family of Bedfordshire, England, were watching a Titanic movie starring Barbara Stanwyck on the telly when they were unfortunately showered on by bits and pieces of the ceiling. Turns out an immense chunk of ice from the sky had smashed a hole in their roof at the precise moment the Titanic struck the iceberg on TV. Chilling coincidence? Probably. I don't know. Number 5. The man who sank the Titanic. Charles Lightoller was the second mate on board and did a lot to help sink the ship a little faster. While trying to lower 2 lifeboats, he accidentally cut the first smokestack cables and it fell over, killing a bunch of people. He didn't stop there, however. Lightoller also had the bright idea to open the gangway door and insist passengers open their porthole windows, which undoubtedly sank the ship much, much faster. But he helped rescue at least 30 people once the ship had sunk, and was married to an Aussie, so he couldn't have been all that bad. Number 4. Titanic Beer. Titanic Brewery makes some great grog. Ales and beers that go down nicely, but are better on ice. Number 3. The Titan. No, not Will Riker's ship. The first book to be written about the Titanic disaster was called Futility, published in 1898, 14 years before the ship's launch. The author, Morgan Robertson, called his fictional doomed ship the Titan, but all other details eerily matched the yet unbuilt and unconceived Titanic. Both vessels were British. Both were described as unsinkable. Robertson called his liner the largest craft afloat. The Titanic was the largest craft afloat. Top speed of both ships was 24 knots. Titan was 800 feet long, the Titanic 882 feet. Titan had 24 lifeboats, the Titanic 20. Lifeboat capacity on both vessels was described after their respective sinkings as inadequate. Titan carried 2,000 passengers, the Titanic 2,200. Titan sank on a mid-April night after grazing an iceberg in the Atlantic. The Titanic sank at night on the 14th of April 1912 after grazing an iceberg, also in the Atlantic. The damage to both ships was at starboard side forward. I wonder if someone wrote a book about 9/11 before it happened, or the presidency of Donald Trump. You know, great disasters of history. Speaking of which, number 2, Titanic 2. The Donald Trump of Australia, politician and lunatic Clive Palmer, once promised to build a replica of the Titanic. Yes.
A great achievement, also be a great tribute to the people who designed the original Titanic.
But his plans sank, like all of the other promises he made, because he was a politician. Number 1, White Star Line. The White Star Line Company was the owner and operator of the Titanic. As soon as the news reached back about the sinking, the company ceased payment to the Titanic crew because, technically, they weren't working for them anymore. And now, a bonus extraordinary fact. The Titanic was the world's first submarine. Thanks for watching. Comment and subscribe. But survive too. That'll be great.
Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you go on. For across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you